Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences per year for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, backed by popular demand, I'll be speaking to Morten Andersen, Head of Content at Wexer. Morten, how are you?
I'm very good. New year, so excited for everything that's coming.
So today we're going to do a deep dive. It actually has been a big request that Morten comes back on a quarterly basis. We kind of feel like the deep dive is better on a year basis in regards to how content performed over 2024. So hey, look, let's get right into it. Virtual. So where are we? Things have changed rapidly from a technology point of view, content point of view. Quick state of the nation for listeners, please, Morten.
Yes, I think probably the biggest thing for us is I think we've built what we call a mega library, which we are really proud of. So it's come a long way. It's been more than a decade of curating content. Taking on new content, constantly looking at trends, trying to make sure that we bring our clients whatever they need, and I think we can probably proudly at this point say that we do so. So if you look at our library, we can offer more than 5,500 classes for virtual. Obviously, it's probably not beneficial for anyone to present that many classes because there's probably a little bit too much choice. But it can definitely be narrowed down. It means also that we can do very dedicated player types. So if someone is just interested in a room that offers body-mind type classes, well, you can still have a big and well-rounded library. So I think that's very beneficial. That's something that we're really proud of. If we look to the mobile side of things, so our web player and our app, we have also more than 4,000 classes now, or we have up to 4,000 classes that you can choose to get onto a platform, which also means that if you are engaging with the Wexer product from anywhere, there's just an abundance of choice, which is what we're all about and what we want to bring to the market. So I think that's something that we can be proud of from a sort of state nation point of view. We always say that variety and flexibility is key, and that means that the operators that we serve, they can tailor their customer journey however they want, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and then what were the major kind of trends that emerged in 2024 on virtual in particular, and then we dive into mobile.
Yeah, so on our end, there was a big demand for languages to kind of break into new markets and serve new markets and serve especially clients that operate across borders. So just very proud that we've benefited greatly from adding high quality French classes. We've added 300 Portuguese classes. We added more than 800 Spanish classes, so that we now have really, really well-rounded libraries for those regions. So that's really good. I think from a new trend point of view, mainly on the mobile side, the biggest thing that we've seen is that we've introduced audio-only workouts. Or not workouts, but audio-only sessions. Usually, it's very much in the wellness space. So it'll be meditations, it will be motivational talks, it will be educational talks, stuff like that. Stuff you can consume whilst you're laying down with your eyes closed if you want to, when you're doing a walk. I think obviously there's something that's been in the industry for a long time. We've now adopted that, and I think that's going to be something that also holds a big place on our platform in the future.
Do you think, not to go off script straight away, but I feel like 2024 has been a big year for operators really embracing, let's call it holistical wellness. Like, yes, and I know you'll go through it in terms of Stregnth and the traditional, types of formats that we know do well, but there's been a real big embracing of the new kind of wellness trends, and I think driven, or is that driven? Do you think that's driven by the clients themselves, or the operators that we serve, or is it actually the demand from the market?
I just think overall, not just in the fitness industry, there's just such a big emphasis and such a big focus on mental well-being, and I think that's just reflected in everything, and also it creeps its way into traditional fitness. It creeps its way into everything that's around that. But I definitely see, when we speak to operators, when we speak to potential content partners, and also especially when we get feedback from end users, there is just such a big appetite for everything that is not an actual workout, but that enables you to do an actual workout. So whether that be a recovery session, whether that be some stretching, some mobility, or the mental side of things, and you could argue that the mental side of things, in forms of meditations or whatever suits that purpose, is something that prepares you a little bit for life if you want to go to that level. And I think that's a big trend, and I think that's also shown on our platform. I think we'll get to it when we dive into the categories, right? But the adoption is not as quickly as probably we had expected, but it's definitely still lingering. It's definitely a lot of the conversations we're having with partners just evolves around everything fitness, so everything wellness. So that's it's definitely lingering, and I'm sure we'll get there.
Understood. And then so mobile, again, State of the Nation for mobile, what were the biggest differences?
Yes, I mean, probably not the biggest difference, but probably the biggest confirmation, I guess, confirming what we saw in 23 and also 22 is just a wide distribution across categories. I really, on Wexer's behalf, see this as a sign of a healthy library. If we see that variation, we see there's a lot of usage across all the categories, it just means that we're serving our purpose. It just means that you can get everything you want from the Wexer platform, whether you one type of user, another type of user, and I think we can be really proud of that. So having said that, I feel like we get to this point every year when we have this conversation, but Stregnth is still the biggest standalone category on the platform. So conditioning style workouts, they're just still in demand. People want to work out, get bang for their buck. They want to, they often will prefer a title where it's really clear what you're getting. They will seek out a workout that's really clear in its description, so you know exactly what you're getting, focusing on a specific body part. Again, we've said this time and time again, but all the titles that have abs in them, all the titles that have booty in them, they just tend to get a lot of usage. So clearly this just people want to do workouts that have a clear outcome. So I think which obviously is a good thing. So that's still the biggest standalone category.
Yeah, and operators listening to this, thumbnails are so important, right? And wording is so important in terms of it always feels a bit clickbaity, but it still works. Like the stats show that this is where people want to do. They want 10-minute abs and with a poster.
And a high quality thumbnail. Oftentimes a thumbnail that is a photo of the actual class, so you see what you're getting into. You will see the instructor you get to work out with. You'll see the environment you're looking at for the duration of the workout. Like that's a reassurance to the end user what you're getting yourself into. So that's very beneficial. And then you can get creative with the titles. Get a little bit cheeky. There are loads of titles to choose between, so you got to make it stand out. And I think our content partners are really, really good at that. So yeah. But also interestingly, if we look at the Stregnth category, which is obviously the most used one, there are subtle changes that have happened since 2023. So if we looked at 2023, we have subcategories. So the subcategories for Stregnth will be a full body, it will be core, it will be upper body or lower body. Just so you can, you can direct your search for a workout as much as get it as tailored to you as you like. And previously, core and full body were equally popular, so that they were getting equal amount of usage. Whereas we've had a huge shift this year, where our users anyway are looking for full body workouts. So more than 45% of all the Stregnth workouts were full body workouts. And again, it just goes to show, I think there is within the fitness industry in general, and sort of speaking of workout trends, there is like a clear trend towards full body stuff where you get like a complete workout rather than getting caught up in very specific things. That's definitely a trend on our side.
Yeah, nice. And then in terms of growth, I guess in 2024, what categories had the most growth?
So when we look at mobile, a very clear trend was cycling took such a large leap. So cycling went from having 7.2% of the usage in 2023 to 14.6% in 2024. So it doubled basically. And I find this really interesting. I had to, honestly, when we did the numbers, I had to double check this because I'm like, that's unusual to see such a leap on one side. And then also I was quite surprised to find that it was cycling because, cycling, when you do that at home, it requires a stationary bike, which is an investment. But also just happy to see that it seems to be quite a testament that virtual training is being adopted, right? Because if you're willing to invest into a bike to be able to do at-home workouts, like that just shows that it's getting really mainstream to do a lot of your workout from home or wherever you prefer.
I think a lot of people bought bikes during COVID, and it's good to see that they're actually using them.
They're definitely being put to good use at this point. I also some of the feedback we've been getting and that we're seeing is that the partner clubs that we have that utilize either app or web player, they also have their members actually bring the workouts via their tablet or their phone into the actual club. So if you are jumping on a bike in the club rather than just pedaling away on your own, you will actually find a 15-minute class or 20-minute class, whatever you want, and you actually do that, so you keep entertained and also you get a good workout. So that's also something that we've seen greatly happening.
Because I know a lot of people listening to this, a lot of people have changed cycling studios out to more functional studios or strength-based lifting studios, let's call it. Do you think there's been a movement towards kind of self-led virtual rides rather than actually the traditional group exercise instructor in the front of the room taking a ride? Like, do you think this has impacted that?
I think so, yeah, for sure. I think yes, for sure. I think it also when you go to a club and if they don't have the likes of a Wexer player installed in their cycling room, maybe you won't actually have access to that room without an instructor, but you'll always find bikes on the gym floor, and it can be a little bit dull just pedaling away. So that's definitely helped. It's definitely helped this the customer experience, being able to bring your tablet or your phone, and then you get a full library of cycling classes you can do.
Yeah. And Morten's constantly telling me that I need to do more zone 2. So as I do more zone 2, I also use a lot of our cycling content to motivate me through. I'm not a big zone 2 fan, but it's good for me. So that's what you tell me anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of,
and then also, like, I just wanted to mention as well, like, there's the yoga and the stretch and recover. So there's a yoga category and there's a category called stretch and recover, and they've both decreased by 5 to 6% each, which is a little bit of a surprise, especially since yoga has always been like the staple for us. Like, the feedback is that the drop off between the experience of a live yoga class and a virtual is very little. So therefore, yoga has always been appreciated as a virtual workout. And also over the last couple of years, stretch and recover has also gained a lot of popularity, but they've decreased, a little bit this year. So when you look at the subcategories of yoga, like 70% of the usage is coming from like your flow classes, so your strength-based yoga classes, whereas only 30% are, coming from the restorative side of yoga. So I think that has to do with the fact that because virtual is growing as a whole and there's just a lot of genres and categories emerging, like I think we're seeing a bit of a polarization happening in the usage patterns. So, either you prefer like your classic strength conditioning bootcamp style workout, or you gravitate towards like the wellness side of things, where it gets very specific. You can get, very specific into your meditation, stuff like that. And maybe yoga and the stretch and recovery stuff sits a little bit in the middle right now. So they're getting lost. So there's definitely something happening there that will be really exciting to follow for this year.
Like what I'm seeing from a live delivery point of view is kind of like the hybrid studios are starting to win a little bit more than the traditional Pilates studios. It's the one where they kind of, get bang for your buck. You're still doing that form of exercise, but you're doing it in a format that is a little bit more fatiguing, a little bit more tiring, a little bit more cardiovascular, or the rest of it. So it's kind of like, bang for your buck type stuff, right? Rather than the traditional formats seems to be the one that is increasing and the other ones are declining. Yeah, okay, makes sense. And then I guess, what is your predictions in terms of for wellness content with virtual?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about wellness content last year. We talked a lot about it at the back end of the year before that, and we, because in 2023 we actually acquired close to 750 wellness-related titles because we wanted that side of the library to be really robust. So we spent a lot of time building that and successfully, which was really good. And this year, the category has doubled. So there's definitely something happening. Obviously, when you bring in more content, you increase the variety and the options that is going to grow, but it's doubled. So clearly there's something happening there. And, wellness isn't just something that's talked about. There's also some action happening there. Yeah. So that's really good. Having said that, though, it's still far behind the likes of Stregnth. So it's still early in the adoption curve, I guess. And I think, the selection within wellness will grow as this category matures, and then we're just definitely going to see it, And I think, especially it seems like there's a lot of talk about the mental well-being side of things, and also everything, as I mentioned before, everything that has a calming, effect on body and mind, or the coaching side of it, which brings valuable health insights, stuff like that. If we have this conversation in 5 years' time, I think that's probably not going to be dominating, but it's going to be very, very mainstream, right? So yeah, I think
I know you get into this, but it always feels like we have a bit of a lag, compared to I know we always try and stay with trends to make sure operators can be relevant to those trends, but there's always a lag in terms of overall usage, don't you think? We've done this for a while now, and it's just it always surprises me that the trends that get the most talked about sometimes don't repeat to the actual true usage and the core, the strengths and the kind of hybrid-y workouts are always the ones that are actually still winning on the platforms in terms of engagement. Overall, fair. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for wellness, there's it's almost like curation is really key, and there's also almost like a decluttering part of it that needs to happen, because again, it's one of those things where you see it when a trend pops up like that, everything gets so saturated. So be it social media, be it YouTube, be it it just gets talked about so much that there's so much going on, this abundance of choice and information overload. And I think we're at the point now where the operators that are using this and bringing this to the end users, we've done a little bit of creation for them, so there is a library there that's easily accessible. So I think with that, it probably makes it a little bit more approachable, and I think that we're probably going to see that this year. That is going to take an even, it's doubled this year. I wouldn't be surprised if it even triples this year, just because there's more maturity within that category now, from a lot of angles.
And I guess the thing that always surprises us is that every time we've done the surveys is how many people don't actually even know that they have our system in there, either if it's virtual and or mobile. So I think as clubs mature with the technologies, new members start, they get onboarded better from a digital point of view. They're going to use these services a lot more, right? So that's the hope if we're doing our job well. So and then I guess the thing that for me is always duration, because it kind of always highlights the convenience factors and stuff. So what was the state of the nation in terms of duration?
Yes, I mean, when it comes to duration, we've learned now that we need to look at two things. So we need to look at duration from a selection point of view, and we need to look at duration from a more like an actual stream time point of view, because those can actually be quite different things, and that can be good and bad, which we can get into. But we do see some differences between them. So when you look at selecting a class on a mobile device, it's just very, very clear now, with 4 or 5 years worth of data on our end, that when selecting below 30 minutes is key. So when selecting a class that on our system, 31% is between 10 and 20 minutes, and 33% are between 20 and 30 minutes. So that's quite a big chunk of the selection coming from below 30-minute workouts. And if we look at it all in all, if we also look at the classes that are between 1 and 10 minutes, then we have almost 80% of our users preferring workouts that are less than 30 minutes, which is a little bit of an increase. It's only a 3% increase compared to the year before. So that is 100% a consistent trend that we're seeing, that whereas the traditional fitness was 45, 60 minutes when it was consumed in club, because then it would fit into a schedule. Like at home usage is just a lot different, and rarely we see someone doing over 30 minutes. So the 30 to 40 minute time bracket can just hang in there. It accounts for 13.4% of all usage. Whereas I will let you guess. Actually, can you guess how many workouts, selected workouts that were more than 40 minutes in duration?
How many we've got, or how many that are actually chosen?
So overall, for all the usage we've had on the mobile system this year, of all the classes that were started, how many of them were more than 40 minutes in duration? 10%, 5%. 6.4. So you're actually close. Okay. That's just very, very significant. That it just emphasizes the fact that shorter workouts actually, when it comes to at-home consumption. And because I know my own consumption, I know friends' consumptions and stuff. Actually, a lot of people double up classes. They might do a little bit of zone 2, and then they go into a Metcon type workout, or something that's a little bit higher intensity workout beast. Do we see that is still something that's happening, or is that just me? No, that's definitely not you. That's definitely also a universal trend. So when we look at the other side of the spectrum, which is actual stream times, we do see some small changes compared to last year, but overall I think they're positive. So the 20 to 30 minute category, that has increased by more than 4%, whilst the shortest time bracket, which is 0 to 10 minutes, that's decreased by 7%. So it is a positive change towards longer stream times, which means that users are staying on longer and longer, which again probably probably fits in well with that what we talk about with virtual maturing as a whole, and people getting used to working out at home, getting used to working out in different ways than what they did 10 years ago. So I think we see that as a good thing. On the other hand as well, like, we aren't really afraid of like very short streams, because we don't see them as a bad thing, because it doesn't always mean, like you just mentioned before, I think that's where you're getting to, like, a short stream time doesn't mean that someone dropped off. It could mean a lot of things, right? So it can workouts, so meaning that they will, as you mentioned, they will do, like, rather than doing a 30-minute workout, they'll do 3 short workworkouts, and they'll skip the warm-up, they'll skip the stretching part, whatever, to get onto the next one. So that means the stream times completion rates become a little bit less than what they could be. So but I mean, I think as well, for us, it underlines everything that we've been saying about virtual. That when you have a big library, like, you're creating picky users, because they have so much choice that if they don't immediately is engaged by a workout, they will go and try something else. I think that's not a bad thing. We also see a lot of experimentation happening. So you might select a workout that you wouldn't otherwise select, and then you give it a go, and if you don't like it, like, you're just gonna cut it off, and then you go back to what you're gonna complete and what you like. So that's we see that low tolerance if you're uninterested in a workout, and it can sometimes result in those little bit lesser stream times. But I think that works well for us.
Nice. And then any kind of surprises or findings in different categories on duration as well? Because I know cycling's always been slightly higher actually, isn't it? And then everything else has been a little bit shorter, which I kind of understand. Is there anything finding wise that's different from 224?
So yeah, so you just on stream times on an overall basis, like less than 8% of the streams are longer than 30 minutes, which again is very significant. So it means that those shorter workouts are winning. It means people can engage with the system often because you don't have to set aside an hour for a workout. So I think that's really good for us. If we sort of dig into the categories versus durations, like cycling definitely equals longer workouts, as you mentioned. So on average, when selecting a cycling class on the mobile system, the class is 33 minutes, and there is an average completion rate of 20 minutes. So that's really good, and that's longer than a lot of the other categories. But it's again, if you're doing a cycling class, you have to get your bike ready. You have to get just different stuff you have to do. So if you've done the preparation, you're also bound to do the workout because that's just
I think naturally it's in people's heads to do a decent warm up, cool down, big block, hill or sprint, and a few others, right? To get through all that in half an hour, it's quite difficult, even for myself who doesn't really like being on a bike too long. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then habits, Morts, like. What are we seeing habits wise? What's the most popular days, stuff like this?
So yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if I was surprised by this, but Monday motivation, like that's definitely a hashtag we can put out there that that works. So even though in many ways it's the hardest day, it's also the day where a lot of our users get after it because 18.5% of all mobile usage occurs on a Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's pretty good. And if we include Tuesday, like 4 out of 10 workouts happen on Monday or Tuesday. So that's quite significant. There's a lot of activity at the start of the week, and then we see like a declining pattern, like clockwork almost. Like for every single day of the week, we just get a slight decline to the point where only 2 out of 10 workouts are happening on the weekend. So. People are
no weekend warriors when it comes to virtual.
No. On the contrary. So yeah, like this year, more so than ever, like the start of the week has been very popular and very significant. And
do you think there's a convenience factor in that? So like the weekend they've got time, so they want to do the physical and engage with community and all the rest of it. Monday's tighter, harder, faster, so you're just getting it done, and then it just literally slows down. And then let's be honest, there's a lot of workplaces that don't do a lot on Fridays, so maybe that's why it's reflected as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think as well on a Monday, even if you plan to go and do a community-based workout, if you go to do a run with your run club or you want to do a live class in your gym, chances are you're going to miss it because life, right? So then you have a virtual option. So you're completely skipping a workout, and that's definitely reflected in those numbers.
And times, just to understand that as well. Like, are we still following the traditional early morning, after 5 p.m. on the things? Is that
we definitely pick on mornings, but like not too early though, because 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the most popular. It's the most populated time slot with 28% of workouts happening here. Definitely our users, they want to get it done, but like not too early. There is a trend that
start work later on Mondays. Clearly,
there is a trend that early workouts are more popular than later workouts, though, because that 8 to 11 a.m. bracket has seen an increase of 10%, whereas 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Has been reduced by 10%. So basically, 10% of users have switched from kind of late night workouts to kind of early morning workouts. That's the main thing. And then also, it's also worth noting that the really early morning people, so the 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Guys and girls, they account for 14%. So it's still a significant time slot where people get it done. And it's virtually identical to the years before this. So and I guess getting a workout in at 5 a.m. just takes a lot of discipline. So either you have it or you don't. It's been a while since I've done a 5 a.m. workout. Let me just be very honest.
we need to travel together, Morten. And then okay, so then the virtual in facility usage as well. Like again, patterns changes.
Yeah, not a lot of change actually. Very fairly consistent compared to last year. So cycling all in all accounts for 54% of our usage, but those numbers lie a little bit because obviously we have a lot of cycling only players. So obviously that's gonna drag the usage pattern in that direction. But if we look at it from an overall point of view, cycling accounts for 54%. Strength is 21%, cardio is 15%, and body and mind is 9%. So fairly decent spread and still very classic categories that are popular. If we then sort of to declutter a little bit, if we exclude cycling to get a better understanding of what's happening in the studios, strength is 46%, cardio is 34%, and body mind is 20%. So still, very heavy on the conditioning side, but a fair distribution. I think
strength for the last 3 years has been the biggest growth, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's the one that's winning in that, and that's a big category to unbundle, but it's definitely by far it's 50% of usage outside of cycling. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, nice. And then I guess in terms of scheduling on-demand usage, I think it's always the constant debate with our clients with how many we got Good Life that are doing phenomenally well with all on-demand usage predominantly, and then some that just refuse to do any on-demand and just do schedule. Give us a feeling for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think from when we advise clubs, it's still very much the common sense that we've always used. Like if you are looking at a time slot where you have a lot of people in your club and a lot of people gravitating towards the studio, scheduling something can be very beneficial because then more people can take advantage and plan for it. So that's something that we still encourage a lot. We also very much encourage to schedule virtual classes on the back of live classes. So if you've done a boot camp style live class, you're going to have a recovery session after that, or a stretching session that can be done virtually. It just means that that community you're creating around a live class, you just prolong that a little bit, but at in a very cost effective way, right? But if we look at the overall usage between scheduled and on-demand usage, the patterns are very, very similar, which is very good. There is subtle differences. So users are slightly more inclined to pick a strength class, whereas anyone scheduling prefer cardio, but it's not a significant difference. So and to be fair, between categories, there's always going to be a little bit of overlap. So it looks like club staff and everyone doing scheduling are actually doing really, really well, and are quite aligned with their members. So that's really good.
Yeah, and then again, sorry, I'm hammering on durations here, but on durations as well, same.
So in club durations are definitely longer than what you see from at home usage. So yeah, and on demand as well. So everything consumed in the club is longer in duration. If we look at cycling, 30 to 45 minute classes are the most popular, sitting at 46% of the usage. And the same actually goes for group exercise or studio. So when it comes to group exercise, we see so not cycling. Obviously, cycling can still be group exercise, but like the traditional in studio group exercise stuff, there's a little bit more distribution between the durations, but also 30 to 45 minutes is the most popular. And most significantly, I mean, when we've just talked so much about mobile, the biggest difference is that almost a quarter of the usage within virtual, so within in-club facilities, is coming from 45 to 60 minute workouts. So that's way longer than mobile. Like we just concluded that, we rarely see any stream times over 30 minutes. So that's just very significant. And you know, this is something that we've known always, and I don't think that's probably going to change a lot, because you know, if you're scheduling something, you want it to fit into a time slot. You want to, you know, and you know, 30, 45 or 60 minutes is really nice because it fits in. It looks good in a on a schedule, and it also, I think, you know, when you go to the club, you make a decision to go there. You get, you know, you get changed, you get ready, all that, and you probably dedicate a little bit more time for your workout. So therefore, durations are going to be always probably going to, in my opinion, or my prediction is that it's always going to be longer than mobile.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And then my favorite subject and last question is predictions. I think let's deep dive into it. So, like, what do you think 225 has, you know, in store? I will keep a scorecard on this as well, Mort.
So yeah, you're obviously the expert on this one, and you know, you can probably talk hours about predictions. So yeah, it's probably your favorite subject to predict the future, right? But I think, you know, when I looked into this a little bit, and obviously I don't tend to read up on this as much as you do, but I do think that a lot of the reports and the feedback that are out there is that you know, the market was so shaken during the pandemic, obviously in the aftermath of the pandemic. Whereas I think, you know, if you look at it from a virtual point of view, like you know, there was a lot of clubs were forced to invest into virtual because there was no other choice. So then when things normalized a little bit, then probably 2022 up to even last year was like a consolidation in so many ways, and trying to figure out how to use virtual in a smart and mindful way. Whereas I just feel like now is the time where it just really becomes part of everyone's ecosystem. You know, it's just so ingrained now, and I think that's going to mean growth this year. I think that's probably one of the headlines, right? And I think for content, there's also definitely a sensation that there will be more players in the market. There will be a lot more production happening. The quality is going to get raised. You know, studios are upping their games. High quality productions are becoming so much more cost effective. So I think, you know, we'll see a lot more content, and I hope we're obviously trying to benefit from that. You know, also on the back of that, like AI, we've talked a lot about that, and how if there's a meaningful way to utilize that within content. I think there is, and I think it has to do with languages. I think we've seen some virtual producers already being able to take a English workout or a German workout or a Spanish workout, and via AI get that translated into other languages, with it looking very, very harmonic and look like moving. So I think that's going to be a huge leap forward, because obviously, you know, local languages are just so important, and it means that you can break into markets easier and faster. Interesting, like, because we also talked about when is AI going to be fully ready to create a full class. I don't think it's there yet. And interestingly, you know, if we look at this, if we look at within the mobile usage of the cycling category, which we obviously concluded had grown a lot this year, we have three different subcategories. So we have your studio category, which is instructor-led, your typical spin class. Then we have landscape, where, you know, you're out on the road, you're in a bike race, you're cruising along a nice place or whatever. And then we have 3D worlds, which is all animated, and almost 75% of the usage is coming from studio classes. So it still means that even though it's virtual, you still want to be engaging with the person on the other side of that camera, right? Or the other side of the screen. So I don't think instructors will be replaced just yet, but I think AI will play a part this year. And on sort of on the back of that, I think also what we are seeing now, and you're also getting this feedback from various partners, that a lot can happen now in post-production, right? So the way that these studios can alter things and change things and customize things in post-production, I think they'll play a huge role in making content look tailored for different partners, and or even have it tailored to whatever you want as an operator. And I think that's something that will help drive engagement and tie in users even more.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, I think there's also, just my 2 cents in this, I think as labour becomes more of an issue, and I just don't think there's going to be as many group exercise classes. So I feel because of the cost structure of group exercise, I think that's in fundamental threat right now. Not saying it's dead by any means, because I think some of the best experiences you can have in fitness in terms of change behaviour is with an instructor. However, having 24 classes a day doesn't really sound the best way. So I think naturally virtual and technology will play a part that can help them scale. So therefore that we'll be able to be thing. And I think from a partner point of view, using Wexer, we've got to be able to make sure it sits within. I think we're gone to the days of it kind of just chuck out generically and people will use. It has to be, as you said, like you've got live classes, let's shoulder them before and after. Let's really think about who the users are. And of course, hybrid work patterns have changed so much, right? Like as we've seen, like most people working out at between 8 and 11 on Monday, where you would argue that's probably should be the most productive time in the office, but they're actually working out. So, things have to be more adjusted to the realities of the operator. And I think also just, what we've seen more, especially in the mobile and virtual, is when we can kind of hack their current member journey, it works so much better. So having a class in the day that they can do straight away, we know that gets significant usage because it's just clear for them to understand what they do. And I think actually people are getting lazier searching for the right content. I think they just, whatever they see, they play. And so I think we have to think about that from a UX point of view when we help our partners as well.
Agreed completely. Yeah. And I think, everything that happens in post-production, everything that tailors a production to a company, to a brand, whatever, like that bridges that gap between the live instructor and virtual, and just make everything come close together and become like almost like one ecosystem that benefits off of each other for the greater good of the end user, which is always what everyone's after, right? So I think that's true. Yeah.
And I think for us, us launching our AI workout generator will be interesting to see how that impacts digital, in terms of content as well. So I think we'll have fun podcasts in store for next year, because there'll be a lot more that would have changed. But really appreciate your time, Mort, sort of doing a deep dive for everyone. And of course there'll be readable copies of what our content report does coming on social.
Yes. So obviously everything that we've talked about today, we'll make sure to put in writing somewhere, so that it's people can enjoy the stats and in a little bit easier way. There's a lot of numbers out there today, so I think we'll get it out there so that it can be downloaded or it can be seen and shared.
And then I do a request from me to partners is to make sure you're spending time with our accounts team to reset those schedules, reset how we think it should be based off these trends, because sometimes the hype and the realities don't necessarily align. And I think data should win in terms of these decision makings.
And you can take so much data out from our system, and if there's something you can't take out, we're usually very happy to help try and because it also makes us a lot smarter if we can look at different angles. Anyone is always welcome to get in touch with myself or the client success team or whoever they're speaking to understand their own content consumption better and make smarter decisions on what they put in front of their users.
Nice. And then how do people connect with you, Morten?
So again,
how do people connect with you?
So I think the easiest way is to just email me directly at morten@wexer.com. I think that would be the easiest way to just get in touch.
Nice one. Well, look, hey, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me on the Wexer podcast.
My pleasure.